Pesado,
I can't imagine my
gente.
mom ever writing poetry, and yet...
Ó, Gus agora.
A poem for Gus, who always said the wedding was a bad idea.
Casamento era uma péssima ideia.
Our father never hit us kids, at least not very hard, before the day my brother said with teenage disregard that he'd be dead before he'd see a wedding in our yard.
Opa.
My father made him come, of course, but Gus stood far apart, just flew his kite and bottled up the storm inside his heart.
Ah, eu gostei desse joguinho. Ele é bonitinho, ele é fofinho. Igual com Critigine que a
I
gente
tried
jogou
to
no
talk him out
domingo.
of it, but though he'd never met her, we don't need a stepmom, were the words that I
now
remember.
pronounce you husband and wife.
Eita, não precisamos de madrasta. Ah, ele tava soltando pipa no casamento.
When the time for photos came, Dad ordered him to come here. But Gus
Ixi.
declined and as a sign held up his middle finger.
Eita porra. Mostrou o dedo do meio.
The wind picked up and panicked geese appeared and quickly went. But all the humans did that day was go inside the tent.
Ok. Eita.
The rain came down in buckets then, but no one seemed afraid that nature might destroy the tent our dad had crudely made.
Gente.
The thunder
furacão
sounded much
matou
too
ele.
close and full of angry power. But all my father said to this was, "Make the music louder."
Ixi.
I wish that I could truly say I thought about you on that day. Out there on the beach alone, just you, the wind, the sea and foam. But I didn't. Until we found you.
Ah, encontrei ele morto. Deixou o filho. Quê? É, amor. Deixou ele lá na banheira. E aí a água voltou a descer e aí já era. Poxa. E o Gus morreu com a tempestade no mar, na frente do mar.
My mom moved up to the loft after her brothers died.
Eita.
At the time, it was as far away as she could get.
She spent a summer building houses in Calcutta, where she met my dad, Sanjay.
Em Calcutá. Ó, os dois. Tio fofo.
Religion was another thing my mom never talked about, but I think it helped her a lot after her dad died.
Religião. Polidense, ela grávida. Que isso, minha filha? Vai nascer aí mesmo. Eu tenho que voltar agora? Pra onde que eu tenho que ir? Sei lá. Tá acabando? Eu não tenho ideia, amor. Tá vendo? Mais exposição que eu também. Eu, hein? O que mais que tem aqui em cima? Nada. Ah.
My mom moved to India a week after graduation and got a job teaching English. Lewis was born a year later.
Olha. Ela foi ensinar inglês na Índia.
When my dad died, I
E
don't
acabou
think Mom knew
furunfando.
where else to go. I'm sure Edie was happy to have her back.
Edith, Milton, Lewis.
And to see kids in the house again. The house had to get a little bigger, but Edie was used to that. And for a while, things were good. Almost normal. But it didn't last.
Mas não durou. Oxe. Putz, por que que não durou? Aqui era tipo uma escolinha.
The beginning of the end was Milton's 10th birthday, when Edie gave him a castle. After Milton disappeared, the only thing he left behind was a room full of paintings.
Que triste. Essa grávida é trepadeira. E olha o Milton. Que é o irmão
Milton
desaparecido.
Finch in The Magic Paintbrush.
Foda. Ele desenhou uma porta e sumiu. Está grávida? Essa grávida é trepadeira, pode apostar. Tá vendo, Zeca? Essa grávida é trepadeira. Ó, falta Down e o Ed. A casa tem mais andares para explorar.
Mom spent months searching for my brother. Then she sealed the doors.
Poxa. Ó a porta aqui. Será que se eu não pintar ela, ela não abre? O papo de louco, né? Será que se eu pintar a porta no quadro, ela não abre? Então tá. Esse cabelo é alto, né, gente? Vamos de escadinha. que eu não tinha visto que existia antes.
Mom definitely blamed Edie, but I think Lewis blamed himself.
Acho que agora vamos ver o do Lewis.
After he graduated, he just spent more and more time in his room. Until Mom got him a job at the cannery.
A escada aqui tá quebrada. O quarto dele é um barco no topo da casa. Olha essa vista, gente. Oh. Sapa, não briga com o robô, Sapa. Sapa não, Zeca. Vocês estão quase com a mesma cor de coisa.
That part of him lived on.
Melhor não, tá vendo? E ó, o carinha era brisado nos negócios aqui. Olha, só no narguile. Ixi.
Dear Mrs. Finch, as Lewis's psychiatrist, I can understand your desire for an explanation. As I see it, the trouble began in January, shortly after we convinced your son to seek treatment for substance abuse.
Abuso de substâncias químicas, não disse. Eu conheci aquele quarto, tava na vibe do LSD.
He kept working at the cannery, but he withdrew part of himself. In our sessions, I saw the same behavior.
Errou.
His mind began to...
A mente começou a fazer o quê? Sem rumo.
I asked him to describe it.
Opa, olé.
He said he started small. Imagining a labyrinth.
Imaginando labirinto.
He'd feel his way about. Then something moved. Bats.
Morcegos.
And toads.
E sapos.
And things that have not names.
Olha, tô fazendo coisas nos dois.
He knew it was all in his head.
Ixi.
But he took it very seriously. I had hoped he'd find himself. But he found something more.
O que ele achou?
I worried about him then.
Mudou de 2D para 3D. Sonhando acordado nas fábricas de conserva.
But he said Lewis had become a model employee. Methodical, tireless, focused.
É, porque eu fiz todos os peixes aqui e tô fazendo outro ao mesmo tempo. Por isso. 65%, olha. 65% é ótimo. A probabilidade está a nosso favor. Eita.
It seemed very promising at first. He told me he'd made a new friend.
Oh, doguinho.
On the edge of a city he named Lewis-topia.
Lewis-topia.
He built the city up slowly, brick by brick. Then he made musicians.
Olha, sucesso, gente, no psiquiatra aqui. De um labirinto a gente foi pra
and
Lewistópia.
songs for them to play.
Tum, tum,
He
tum,
talked about
tum,
starting a
tum.
band. And he was always humming something.
Eu, hein?
Every day his imagination grew stronger.
Eita.
He no longer spoke at the cannery,
Ixi.
but his chopping was as reliable as ever. Then one day it struck him.
Dia ele se deu
All
conta
the
do
cheering
que
crowds, even the stones under his feet, were all in his imagination. So he could
tava
do
tudo
whatever
na
he wished.
imaginação. Eita. Ah.
He held an election for mayor,
Ele realizou uma eleição para prefeito.
and he won.
E ganhou, é claro. É na mente dele,
They begged him to
chapadão.
stay, but his mind was already wandering. It became a game for him.
Ixi. Virou um jogo pra
He'd
ele.
conquer a
Ai,
city,
tá
then immediately
lasqueira.
push on. New Louisville.
Nova Lewisville. Cuidado pra não bater o bar.
St. Louis.
St. Louis.
He started drifting away from our reality.
Ixi. Aí ferrou.
Minneapolis. Until one day he forgot to go home from the cannery. Even as his mother pleaded with him, part of Lewis
Eita.
kept sailing on.
Nossa, era mecânico. Gente, pesado. Que pesado.
In Lewisburg, he heard rumors of
A beautiful.
handsome
Opa.
queen.
Ai, eu devia ter ido no príncipe. Porra. Devia ter feito Lewis no coisa.
The queen was on her own quest for
A Little Psycho. Arco-íris, arco-íris. Arco-íris, carai.
radiant rainbows.
Destruímos o arco-íris.
He followed the sound of her silver harp.
Eita, gente, tá ficando complicado fazer o peixe ao mesmo tempo. Do negócio aqui. Tá complicado.
His chase led him to a golden
71% é
palace
bom.
east of the sun and west of the moon. Even then, his logic remained sound.
Eita, agora ele perdeu totalmente a realidade.
He knew the world was all in his imagination.
Ai, que estranho.
But he was so proud of having created it. In his own eyes, he'd become something greater than a king.
Eita. O cara chapadão. E vindo dar-lhe peixe na
Someone
tela.
who'd never known success in the real world, I think it was overwhelming. And then it struck him
Eita.
that the real Lewis was not the one chopping salmon,
Oh,
but the one
oh.
climbing the steps of the
Ele-
Golden Palace.
De certa forma, isso daí faz super sentido. Ah, eu vou ser internada no hospital psiquiátrico
My
também.
imagination is as real as my body, he told me. It was hard to argue with him.
E lascou. Ele agora se vê como um rei e tá distorcendo a realidade. Pelo menos essa realidade. Viu disso, gente? Olha o LSD aqui.
He began to forget the world we know.
Ele começou a se esquecer do mundo que conhecemos.
I think it pained him to remember Lewis, the cannery worker.
Shhh.
He began to despise the man with a royal contempt.
Oh, Rei Lewis. Eu sou o Rei Lewis e veio com o Lewis normal. E aí?
I still thought I could save him.
Ah,
Even after he said he was being crowned king over all the lands of wonder.
eita. Lascou.
The palace would be packed with his companions.
Ficou chapadão.
Including the wise
Eu, hein?
who'd insisted on inviting
Tem uma história parecida com essa. Quê? Tem uma história par tudo com essa. Isso pode acontecer mesmo. Sim, eu sei, Felipe. Isso daí é super possível. Conta pra gente, Felipe, e aí? Você pode contar essa história ou tipo, é meio secreta? Não precisa revelar nomes.
There was only one thing left to do.
Apenas mais uma coisa pra fazer. Ai, merda.
Bend down his head.
Mais um que morreu.
And the rest I think you know. Mrs. Finch, your son was a kind man who will be missed by all of us who knew him.
É. Doutora Emily Nuts. Já era.
My brother was really cool. I wish you could have met him.
É, Edith. E agora?
On the way back from Lewis's funeral, my mom told me to start packing. She waited until the day before we left to tell Edie. I'm not sure if she wanted to make it easier or harder.
Eita.
I wish we'd stayed.
Ah, o Milton é o desaparecido.
But I understand why we left. My mom ended up leaving everything behind.
Deixou tudo pra trás. É a casa, gente. Olha, perdeu todo mundo.
What happened that night had been coming for a long time. Maybe it should have come sooner. But it had to end one way or another. All that's left now is to tell you about that last night.
A minha história.
That whole last day, Edie just watched us pack and didn't say a word. Until supper, when she raised her glass and said,
"To our final night together.
A nossa
And
última
all
noite
our final
juntos.
nights apart."
Grandma, you know what I said about alcohol. Some of your medications are very
Edith,
specific.
I left a present for you in the hallway. Why don't you go open it?
Porque você
The
não vai lá
grown-ups
abrir.
have to argue now.
Os
I'm
adultos
sorry, you're
precisam
right.
argumentar
We're all
agora.
leaving tomorrow. Let's just enjoy our last...
I'm not leaving.
Edith, you're excused.
Ixi. Eita.
the power had been shut off that morning, but Edie always had plenty of candles. When my mom sealed the library, I don't think she knew about the other entrance. Or that Edie had a key to it.
Ela se matou na biblioteca.
That thing you're afraid of isn't going to end when you leave the house. Edith has a right to know these stories.
Eita.
My children are dead because of your stories. I think it's best if Edith and I leave tonight.
Ixi.
We'll have the nursing home send a van for you in the morning. Okay?
História dos Finch.
Dear Edith, there's so many stories I wish I could tell you, but there's only time for one. This is about what happened on the night you were born.
Ixi.
That night, the tide went way, way out.
Vamos lá,
It was the
gente.
first and last time.
Ai, calma aí. Gente, família suicida, misericórdia, é Sapa. Ele meteu a cabeça na máquina de cortar peixe em Pulsex. Tinha uma amiga minha que a namorada dela, de tanto trabalhar e ser pressionada, começou a ter problemas mentais. Ela começou a parar de falar, quase não tinha expressões. Eita, amore. Era a única que conseguia se comunicar, mas nem sempre ela conseguia. Eu tinha paciência. E ela se matou, Fape? O que rolou com ela, amore?
Time I ever saw the old house aground. There'd been an earthquake out in the middle of the ocean. They called it the lowest tide in 1,000 years. God, it smelled awful. You know,
Eita.
I've seen that house every day of my life. But I never thought I'd go back to it.
E ela foi lá, ela
When
voltou.
the fog rolled in, I lost my way.
Mas eu não me perdi, não. E agora
I
eu me
got
perdi.
turned around. I started seeing things.
Enfiado.
Things I'd forgotten had ever existed. But when I saw them, they felt like old friends. That night, a lot of things came back to me. Or maybe I came back to them.
Oh.
Things
Tá quase
I can't
terminando de ir pro
explain,
sexo.
but that I need you to try and...
Edith, what are you doing in here?
It's mine.
Edith!
Mom, you're gonna rip it. Let go.
Eita, eu não vou saber o que rolou.
I kicked and screamed, but Mom dragged me to the car. I never saw Great Grandma Edie again.
Eita.
The next morning, the van came to pick her up, but she was already gone. After that, we moved around a lot. We both tried to make the best of it. A few years went by.
Ok.
My mom didn't like to talk about it. But she started getting sick a lot.
Eita.
The rest happened pretty quickly.
Gente, é só desgraça. Oh, minha mãe é Adão.
She got better for a while, and then she didn't.
Poxa.
And then I was alone. The last Finch left alive.
Não, a avó dela ainda tá no
Until I found out about you.
asilo, não é? Até descobrir a sua existência.
I'm still not sure what to tell you about all this.
Ah, ela não é mais a última
If we lived
Finch.
forever, maybe we'd have time to understand things. But as it is, I think the best we can do is try to open our eyes.
Viver para
Appreciate
sempre.
how strange and brief all of this is. This journal was supposed to be for you,
Isso já era pra ser pra você.
but now I hope you'll never see it.
Eu acho que ele vai
I just want to
nascer.
meet you and tell you all these stories myself.
Ai, ela vai
But I
abandonar a
guess if you're reading
criança.
this now, things didn't work out that way. This is where your story begins. I'm sorry I won't be there to see it. It's a lot to ask, but I don't want you to be sad that I'm gone. I want you to be amazed that any of us ever had a chance to be here at all. Good luck.
Oh. Último Finch vivo. E ela também se matou? Ai, pelo amor, gente. Né, Sapa? Nem durou direito. Oh. O fim. The end. Aí eu jogar novamente. Nanana. É, gente, chegamos no final dessa historinha aí.